There we go. Okay, so we're taking a look at the picture of our fruit. Now you guys see that really dark shadow on the right hand side? This one right here. It's like our darkest red. And if you look at it, you would think, okay, yeah, that's like a dark red shadow. So, but remember, we're trying to stray away from just grabbing a dark red colored pencil and doing that dark red. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a dark cool color, a little bit more to our drawing to start to create this area for this darkest shadow. Now again, I want you to look at your picture, and if you're really looking at that dark red on the side, I want you to decide in your head, does that look like a dark red with a hint of blue, a dark red with a hint of violet, or a dark red with a hint of green? Just look at it right now and think in your head. Or another way to think of it is almost, because I know it looks dark red, but think of it like if there was a layer of a color underneath that red, would it be yellow, or sorry, would it be blue, violet, or green? So decide in your head. How many people think it looks blue? There's no right answer. How many people think it looks like blue, like a hint of blue? Okay, a few people. How many people think it looks green? One person. Okay, how many people think it looks violet? Okay, so everyone sees colors differently. There's no right or wrong answer. I want you to go with your gut. What color do you see? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that color. So if I thought it looked blue, and again, I don't have the right or wrong answer. This is violet blue. I want you to go with what you're seeing. So if I thought it looked blue, I'm going to take my blue, this is like my blue violet, and I'm going to start to add a light layer of that blue, kind of in the same shape of that shadow. So I just want you guys to watch first, because I'll kind of go through and I'll show you everywhere that I'm doing this. So I see some darkness right here. It kind of comes down. Again, we're watching right now. You will use whatever color you feel you best saw. So if you feel like you saw green, use your dark green. If you feel like you saw violet, use your dark violet. For this step though, I don't want you to use mulberry violet, that mulberry color. So don't use that one, use a different violet. All right, so I see a little bit blue right here. I see it gets a little darker above right here. So I'm gonna do just a little bit. Because again, we're looking for the dark red areas. And I know we're not adding red, but that's okay. And then look for some other dark red areas. So I see dark red kind of right here. So I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna do a little bit of my blue in here. And now if you want to, as you're marking in kind of some of these darker red areas, you can switch colors in between too, but I want you to just stick with the the dark cool colors for this layer. So I've got a dark kind of blue here. Everyone has this like little, it looks like a bruise or something almost. It's a little spot. That looks kind of greenish to me. So I'm gonna add my green in right there for that tiny little spot. And then maybe over here, see how we've got these kind of dark shadows along the top, and right here kind of comes down right there. Maybe to me that looks a little bit more on the violet side. So maybe I'll bring my violet colored pencil in. So you can stick with the same color for this step, and you can do all green, all violet, or all blue. Or if you feel like you see different kind of tints of red, red with a tint of violet, red with a tint of green, kind of like I'm seeing a little bit, you can do that as well. I see a little bit of shading over here, so I'm just going to do a little bit more. So for this step, you're really focusing on what do you see. And again, we're looking for the darker red areas, keeping it kind of light. If you want to start doing this, you can. Still not going super heavy pressure. The more layers you do on this, the better it's going to look. So keep your layers kind of light, but you can start to see where these shadows are starting to get planned in a little bit more, where these shadows are going to get a little bit darker. If you want to go a little darker on that right hand side shadow, you can, but we still want to be able to see the white of the paper coming through. So we shouldn't be burnishing or anything like that. Okay, so you guys can go ahead and start with that step, and then I want you to stop after that. And then I'll show you the last step for today, and then you will work for the rest of the period. All right, so I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. Again, you're not using a red, you're using a dark, cool color, the color that you basically think you see underneath the other. All right, now I'm going to start you off kind of at the same spot a little bit. So what you're going to do is, first thing we did was we colored and see these shapes that are created here. These are like all of our shadows, kind of shaded areas. So you're going to choose a dark, cool color, whatever color you want, and you're going to do a really light layer of that in all of these areas. So you're just taking this shape, this shape, this shape, and that shape. And you see it kind of lines up with the lighter oranges and yellows. So just a light layer of a cool, dark color of your choice. So a blue, a violet, or a green. Okay? So mark in those areas. Try to keep it still a little bit light. Try to kind of maybe go in little circles. Cutting that out. Maybe try to get this to where it's not so hard on the edge. So what color were you using? This one? Can I show you a little bit? So if you go in little circles, kind of lightly along the edge, it'll start to soften those edges a little bit more. Okay? Don't forget that little kind of dot towards the bottom. I'm going to make mine a little bit darker where that green was. But again, go with what you're seeing. That's what I really want you guys to focus on today, is not necessarily relying so much at looking what I'm doing up here. Of course, you can use it as reference and to help you, but really more trying to see these things that I'm explaining to you yourself so you can start to do it on your own as well. So I'll give you guys another few minutes or so, and then I'll show you the very last step. So if you're all done, you can put your pencils down so I just know or have an idea of where everyone's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get a different color? I don't know if
Yeah, that's fine. Just put those ones back and then you can grab another one.
Thank you.
And then I'll show you guys an example of kind of where you're supposed to get to today and then what we'll do tomorrow. And again, if you get to the step of where I want you guys to be today, I want you to stop there. Then you can work on continuing drawing your collage if you need to for the rest of the period, as long as you got to the step I showed you today. And then tomorrow I'll show you the very last step. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. Again, if you're not done with this step, that's okay. I just want to show you guys the last step so we can kind of get there, and then you'll work for the rest of the period. So go ahead and if you have your pencils up, go ahead and put it down real quick and take a look up here. I'm going to switch this out. So here we have kind of the step we want to get to today. And actually, I'm going to turn off the lights for a second so you can see it a little bit better. I'll turn on my phone light. Or actually, I can't. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I'll keep the lights on. I realized I'm recording on my phone, so I can't turn on my flash thing right now. Okay, so never mind, we'll go back to this. You can't see the colors as much as I'd like you to, but that's okay. But right here we can see a finished version, and I'll come around, I'll walk around with this, and a non-finished version. Now I want you guys to get to this side. If you can tell on the screen, I know it might be a little hard to see the colors, but the colors of the fruit, we're getting back to normal on this side. So we're bringing in more of those reds, those yellows, those oranges, and they're starting to get back to normal colors. And that's going to be your goal for today. Slowly building up layers, getting your fruit back to looking like normal colors, more reds, oranges, and yellows. Tomorrow, your goal is going to be to do this side, which is the burnishing technique. Now, it may seem like this side takes a lot longer, but it's actually this side that takes more layers, takes a longer time to do. So that's what I want you guys to focus on today. Slowly building up layers, going back to using those more normal colors for the fruit. And then tomorrow I'll show you how to finish it off this way. So this is your goal for today. Getting to this point where all these colors are starting to turn back to reds, to yellows, to oranges. Tomorrow I'll show you how to do this. So when you go to start doing this, once you've got that last step that I showed you all done, you're gonna go back in, and I would say start with your normal colors. Start with your yellows, start with your reds, your oranges. And again, I want you to go kind of with your gut. Start putting these things all over where you're seeing them. So I'm not going to stop you step by step. And again, you should just be watching for right now. I'm not going to stop you step by step from here on out. It's going to be your goal to get your drawing back to these more natural fruit colors. So if I were you, I'd probably start with my red. Again, keep the layers light. I don't want to see really anyone going in super heavy pressure just yet, because that's what we're going to do tomorrow with our burnishing technique. The more layers that you do and the more light layers that you do on this, it gives you more room to kind of figure out, okay, what colors do I need to mix in? If you go firm right away with your colored pencils, you don't have as much room to start mixing in different colors. And the key with this is also overlapping. So you can see that right now my shadows still look kind of violets or purple or kind of blue. You can bring in some of your oranges. And again, just keep overlapping. You see this like really bright yellow right here. If you want to tone that down a little bit, don't be afraid to bring in some of your other colors too. So I'm not going to say that you have to stick with just your reds, your oranges, and your yellows. I want to tone down this yellow a little bit more, so I'm going to bring in my brown, and I'll do like a light layer of brown on top of that yellow to make it not so bright. I can bring in some of my oranges, and again, keeping really light pressure. So I want to make sure that you can still see the little specks of white paper coming through. And I don't want you guys to get to that burnishing technique yet today. So if you feel like, basically when you're working on this stage, it should take 3-4 layers of just going back over again and again with these more natural colors now. If you feel like you need to, you can go back in with some of your darker, cool colors. Like say if I felt like this wasn't dark enough, I could go back in and bring in, you know, my violet and do another layer, and then do another layer of red on top to start to kind of darken that a little bit more. Don't be afraid if you have like a peach or a pink, you can bring your peaches and pinks in. This mulberry color, it's like a lighter violet. It's called mulberry. That color, when it's mixed on top of like yellow, or not yellows, oranges, becomes really bright and vibrant. So you can bring that in too. Tuscan red is like a dark red. If you have Tuscan red, and you can share colors too today, just make sure they don't get mixed up. So if someone next to you has like that Tuscan red color and you want to use that, don't be afraid to ask them and you guys can share. But you're slowly building up these colors. And again, your goal now is to start to get your fruit back to a little bit more of its natural colors. All right, so take your time, go nice and slow. So I would start out with your reds, your yellows, and your oranges first to kind of plan those things in. And then if you feel comfortable, you can start pulling in other colors. But the whole goal with this is to be creative with our colors and the way that we're mixing them. So again, one more time, I'll show you up here, and I'll leave it frozen up here so you guys can kind of see it. I want you guys to get more, not to this burnishing technique. I'll show you guys that tomorrow, how to burnish and how to really make all those colors pop. Because this is kind of what we're going to want our coloring for our collage to look like, nice and finished. But for today, I just want you to slowly start building those colors back up to where your fruit is starting to look a little bit more red, orange, yellow, those colors. Okay? Any questions? Nope. All right. The rest of the period is yours. That's what you're working on. Again, don't go to the burnishing side just yet. That means super heavy pressure. Try to keep it really light, lots of layers. And if you feel like you get to the point where you're like, all right, it seems like my next step is to press heavy with my colored pencils,